Hey, what's going on, loungers? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Mason T and I am a 20+ year importer and product developer. So today we're going to be doing a little bit of a watch along of an episode of CNBC Make It. And I really wanted to share this particular episode with you guys about this guy who had $1 million net worth. And he only works a regular job making less than 6 figures. So this is going to be a story all about mentorship. And I wanted to do a pause and play stop kind of, reaction video to this so that you could get my take on exactly how this is all possible. And it actually comes with more caveats than you think. So let's begin.
I was 15 going on 16, and I had told my mom I had this chunk of money saved up, and she said, have you ever considered buying a house? And at the age of 16, like, the last thing that I'm thinking about is buying a house. I wasn't sure what I was really putting my money into, but I had confidence in my mom that we were making the right decision, and it definitely paid off. My name is Sebastian, I'm 28 years old, and I built a net worth just over $1 million US without making a 6-figure salary. I've spent a good portion of my life from the age of 15 to about 24 kind of just working all the time, every single day. The last 3 years is actually the most quietest that I've ever had my entire life. I was born in Mexico. My mom and I immigrated to Canada when I was 3 years old.
Okay, so right here, right, this child, Sebastian, is incredibly fortunate, right? How many people can immigrate from Mexico across the United States and then into Canada? And he started working, by the time he turned around 16 years old, and then he saved $8,000. How many people can do that? Most young people, as they work, they don't save up stuff. I have money now. Now I could go spend it on my favorite video games, buy a skateboard, like all sorts of dumb things. But instead, he saved up for this. How many people can do something like that? You have to have very good parents in order for this to happen. So this is your first mentor, your mom. Okay. Now, what's very fortunate for him is that everybody comes from different walks of life. And being in my late 40s right now, I could tell you that I know many people that could either trust their parents with anything and everything, and there are also people who cannot trust their parents at all. So this young man is very, very fortunate.
My mom was hesitant to go ahead with that, and she had told me that maybe you could use that money for something better. And she said that if you took that initial down payment to buy this house, you could buy it, we could renovate it, and then sell it for a profit. And the concept at the time was just very confusing to me. I didn't really understand what she meant by that. My mom has been a cornerstone in my life. She's always kind of guided me into the right direction, into where I should go. She had told me that this will be the best decision you'll ever make in your life. So I had given mom the savings that I had, and we had moved forward and purchased this house.
See, what makes this story so incredible is that, later on it's revealed that he did have a stepfather, but generally, when a young man is raised by just a mother, mothers are a little bit more nurturing, and it's very difficult for a young man to, be raised into a man and listen to his mom the way that he did, where he just, worked hard, saved the money, didn't waste it, didn't go out partying, because you're young and all you really want to do is do some grown-up type stuff, as well as being in Canada. Because had he been, in some rough areas of, California, especially where you could buy a house for $50,000 in that kind of area, you would have been pulled into like some kind of gang. You definitely would be in some kind of a strange gang life. And the influence from school as you meet bad friends is incredibly magnetic compared to what your parents can do for you. If anything, in order to have a good kid these days, you probably have to be homeschooled. If you grew up in a rough neighborhood, anywhere between like Compton, Watts, other places in New Mexico, like there's a lot of rough parts of town for people who immigrated over from Mexico. Thank goodness they just kept traveling north to Canada, where it's pretty much like, it's too cold up there to gangbang, really. No, I'm joking. But you get my point, though, that you grew up in a decent neighborhood and this boy listened to his mom, because a lot of children, right, that are raised by single mothers, by the time they're 14, 15, 16, they don't really listen to their mothers the way that a daddy can lay down the law. There's always exceptions.
I thought to myself, what have we done? It needed to be completely gutted. I didn't know the first thing about construction. Mom had helped with all of the renovation costs, with some lines of credits that she had. I was tearing down walls, ripping out flooring, putting new flooring in, ripping out cabinets, helping put new cabinets in.
Look at this. How many moms can do that? Control their son at age 16, 17, 18, flip a home together. The kid is going to school. He has a job at Walmart, and he spends the rest of his free time doing the woodwork. Like he's got a belt sander in his hand and he's helping with the renovation. Some mom.
So any of the profits that came from the house, we kind of just floated into the next house purchase. The second house that we bought was shortly after that one has sold, about 6 months after, give or take. And that one was purchased by my mother, and at the time my stepdad as well. By the time we got to the third house, I was 18 at the time, so I was able to put my name and my mom's name on that house.
See, here's the thing about flipping, right? I've mentioned this before. The only way to really, really make flipping work on a high level is to start increasing the value and start understanding the value of the next category of things you're doing. So when you start with everyday items and then you move on to higher end things, I actually have a couple of clients that are into, the DSLR cameras and stuff, because that's the only way they can make flipping work, which is to flip something of higher value. I featured De Novo Flips on my channel before, because he's selling, the Nest cameras, the Nintendo DS, the Fluke meters, things that go for $400, $800, because it's the only way to make it work, flip fast. People are in high demand of it, and your store doesn't just get more and more chaotic. So other things that are more advanced into, the higher end of flipping would be cars and houses. So we don't get into the background of the mother and understanding how to flip homes and stuff like that, but this is what she passed on to her son, and together in Canada, this is on their third home by the time he was age 18.
It just started to fuel my hunger for real estate.
Right. I like what he said about fueling the hunger for real estate, because passion comes from mastery. It's one thing to, I try to chase my passions of the things that I enjoy, things that I like. But if you're really going to do something effective and lucrative, you should start chasing the things that you're good at. And then you quickly find out, hey, I'm good with a belt sander. I'm good with the hard work. I'm good with, and now he has developed some type of mastery. And the passion that comes from there is definitely something that turns into, a lucrative job. He never quit his job at Walmart.
Keeping the money within real estate and kind of growing that. It wasn't up until when I had a chance to sit down with my father-in-law, and he kind of introduced me to index funds and investing in the market. I didn't really understand the power of compound growth up until that point. And
I think this is so important for everybody to understand, because this is exactly why I make so many critique videos about reselling, because reselling's rewards are inherently truncated. What that means is that it's cut short. And the reason why it's cut short is because if you only have one copy of something, if you only have a limited quantity of something, once that quantity is done, so is the listing, and the listing cannot continue. If you're doing e-commerce, then the listing itself is what the asset is. So what happens with resellers is that they're just running through potential assets and just letting it die off. Compounding is very, very important. Constantly all the gurus make videos about, reselling and staying consistent. Got to be consistent, got to be consistent. But what they don't tell you is that consistency means nothing if what you're doing doesn't compound over time. Everything is supposed to compound. Like, for example, as you go to the gym and you build more muscle, you get stronger and stronger. All your efforts is another drop in the bucket that starts to compound. So sure, you start to learn brands and then you know more and more about how to pick stuff. But the rewards that come from reselling is truncated. And the problem with this is that when you make the right move and then you sell something, okay, great. But when you make the wrong move, it is incredibly punitive, because if your item sells, you got to go out and replace it. But if your item doesn't sell, you got to go out and replace it. And you still need an exit strategy for the item that isn't selling. So again, when you make the right move, it's mildly rewarding. When you make the wrong move, it is incredibly punitive.
From that point on, I started putting a monthly amount away for retirement.
His second mentor in life, his
Given my net worth
father-in-law.
at the time, I had taken about 10% and invested into cryptocurrency. However, it was a gamble that we had taken at the time, and it's definitely paid off, fortunately.
It's hardly a gamble. His father-in-law knew. He knew. Come on. Look at that.
Leaving Walmart was one of the toughest decisions I've ever made. My schedule was all over the place, just working in retail. You're working mornings, afternoons, weekends, so there was a not great work-life balance, but I was all in it just to climb the career ladder. When we found out we were pregnant, we started looking at other options to move back home or move into a different career field. There was another job opportunity that was brought up to me in the financial industry at home. So my wife and I, we kind of had sat down and tried to figure out, do I want to keep chasing this retail career and kind of growing within that with a competitor, or do we maybe kind of take a step back and slow it down and move home and have a better work-life balance?
Did you know that if you had $1 million in some type of diversified portfolio or a high yield savings where you had 4% returns and you just lived on those 4% returns of $1 million in savings, that would be $40,000 a year. So if you could live below your means of $40,000 a year plus, your day job, you would be chilling. That's what people don't really understand. So when you think about like all these types of assets, whether it is cryptocurrency to homes and all this stuff, these are all assets that he purchased over time. Like he worked for it, and then he's the owner of all of these assets. That's what makes it very difficult for people that come from humble beginnings. You don't have rich daddies to help you understand this and save up towards it and go ahead and buy these assets. The rest of us have to create these types of assets. And this is exactly what my channel is about. I have one skill set in product development that I've developed, tons and tons of products over time. And each product that I develop over time is another stream of income, which is exactly what he has right now with his rental properties and his portfolios.
It's atmosphere. Because of the little one, we decided to take that career field and kind of have her acclimated back into our hometown. So how our income looks right now is my income as a financial advisor for about $80,000. I have rental income coming in, which is an additional about $22,000 Canadian. And in addition to that, my wife's
$772 for
income,
food.
which
Not bad.
when she goes back to work full time, she'll be making around $90,000 Canadian. So looking back at September, my wife and I had spent around 15,500 Canadian dollars, and we had brought in about 13,000 Canadian dollars. The reason for the discrepancy in income to expenses was we have two big insurance payments that come out in September. On an average month, we're bringing in about $8,000 Canadian and spending about $6,000 Canadian.
This kid owes everything to his two mentors in life, his mom and his father-in-law, you know, and most people don't have that because it helps guide you to make all the right steps from an early age. And that is the cheat sheet. That is the fast track. That is the shortcut in life, to have that mentor who's walked the path and understood, you know, all the investing and getting into real estate and, you know, putting that, distilling that into you so that he got into real estate, he got into flipping. And then from there, he developed a passion for it, the passion through mastery.
I'm very frugal when it comes to our budget, so I review it on a daily basis. One of the biggest category lines.
That's another thing, right? The fact that he's very frugal. It really makes you wonder if it's nature or nurture or a little bit of both in this scenario. Because, you know, he definitely, a lot of people grow up to be a problem child, right? Especially if you're raised by just a single parent. You're not very obedient. Some of us are a little more rebellious than others, but he was very obedient and he listened to what his mom said, and he had faith in her that, like, okay, here's the $8,000. Go, let's go do whatever you're suggesting.
On our budget is our home expenses. After that line item, I would say our lifestyle expenses are the most expensive. So all of our grocery, health and beauty, anything that has to do with the baby. Afterwards would be transportation. So
they're very minimalist.
That we have to pay, our insurance. We don't have any auto loans. So it's just all of the actual maintenance costs for the vehicles themselves. By the time she's 18, she should have around $150,000 for her education savings plan at the time.
And I guarantee you that, like, when their baby goes to college, they're going to go to college for a useful degree.
I want to increase what we currently invest every single month into our index funds from possibly $1,200 to about $2,000 once my wife goes back to work. In terms of
I wonder if he went to
retirement, I don't really like to think of it as retirement, but more so as financial independence. Right now, I'm projected to be financial independent by about 35. There's been certain individuals in my life that have guided me to where I am today. Like, I couldn't have done any of this without the help of those individuals, and I would love to somehow
your mother and your father-in-law
I've learned along my track. At the end of the day, I think it has to do with what you do with your money, making sure that you know where your money is going, what you're spending your money on, how you're investing your money. All of these different things will propel you into things that you won't even imagine.
You know, he picked a really good bride because, you know, clearly his father-in-law cares very much for his daughter's well-being, right? And therefore he's going to go ahead and pour all his investment knowledge into you so that you could go on and take care of his daughter, and you guys are going to be living a very cushy life. Again, guys, I really wanted to put this video out there to just really highlight the importance of mentorship in a person's life so that you have the answers, so that you skip so much trial and error, right? And it's that error part that, you know, takes up so much time. I mean, it's always good that, like, you know, we're on a different spectrum of situations all the time, where sometimes you just have to learn the hard way. But in this one, you could just see that this guy is under 40 and he's doing fine, and he's on his path to financial independence before the age of 35. That is amazing, guys. Anyways, that is the video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up, and I'll see you guys in the next.